Most relationships don't end when someone cheats. They don't end when someone walks away. And they definitely don't end the day the breakup happens. They end much earlier. They end the moment respect starts disappearing. The scary part is that most men never see it happening. Because disrespect rarely arrives as a dramatic betrayal. It arrives disguised as a sentence. A comment? A phrase spoken during an argument. Or a few simple words that reveal exactly how she sees you. And once those words are spoken, the relationship is often already moving in a dangerous direction. In this video, we're going to break down 5 phrases that should make every man stop and pay attention. Not because they're offensive, not because they're emotional, but because they reveal deeper psychological patterns, emotional maturity, and the future of the relationship itself. And if you ignore what those words really mean, you may end up investing years into someone who stopped valuing you a long time ago. The first phrase is simple, but incredibly revealing. I don't need you. Now, before we go any further, let's make an important distinction. There is nothing wrong with independence. A healthy woman can have her own career, her own goals, her own income, and still deeply value the man she's with. In fact, strong relationships are built between 2 complete people, not 2 dependent people. But that's not what this phrase is about. When someone looks at their partner and says, I don't need you, especially during conflict, the goal usually isn't communication. It's separation. It's a way of saying, your presence no longer matters to me, and that's where the real problem begins. Because relationships don't survive on need. They survive on appreciation. The moment appreciation disappears, resentment often takes its place. Now, does one sentence automatically mean the relationship is over? Not necessarily. People say hurtful things when they're angry. But if this attitude becomes a pattern, if she repeatedly dismisses your importance, minimizes your role, or acts as though losing you would make no difference in her life, you should pay attention, because respect is revealed in the way people speak when emotions are high. A mature partner doesn't constantly remind you how little they need you. They remind you, through their actions, how much they value having you beside them. And every man should know the difference. The second phrase is one that many men have heard, but few fully understand. You're too emotional. At first, it may sound like a simple criticism. Maybe she says it during an argument. Maybe she says it after you express frustration, disappointment, and sometimes she may even say it casually. But what matters is the pattern behind the words, because there is a huge difference between helping someone manage their emotions and dismissing their emotions altogether. A healthy relationship creates emotional safety. It allows both people to speak honestly without fear of being mocked, belittled, or judged. That's where emotional intelligence becomes so important. A mature partner doesn't always agree with your feelings, but they respect your right to have them. When someone repeatedly responds to your concerns with phrases like, you're too emotional, you're overreacting, or you're being dramatic, the conversation stops being about solving a problem. It becomes about invalidating your experience. And over time, that creates distance. Many men slowly stop opening up because they learn that vulnerability will be used against them later. They stop communicating, they stop trusting, and eventually, they stop feeling emotionally connected. The deeper issue isn't that she disagrees with you. The deeper issue is whether she respects your perspective. Because in strong relationships, communication skills matter more than winning arguments. And a partner who constantly dismisses your feelings may be revealing something far more serious than disagreement. They may be revealing a lack of respect. The third phrase may be the most deceptive one on this list. You deserve better than me. On the surface, it sounds humble. It sounds honest. It may even sound caring. And that's exactly why so many men misunderstand it. When a woman says this once during a moment of self-doubt, it may simply reflect insecurity, but when she says it while pulling away, investing less, communicating less, or avoiding accountability, the meaning often runs much deeper. What she's really communicating is this: I'm not willing to give you what you're looking for. And that's an important distinction, because relationships don't fail simply because people have flaws. They fail when one person stops putting effort into growth. A woman who genuinely wants a future with you doesn't just point out problems. She works with you to solve them. She communicates. She adjusts. She tries. That's what emotional maturity looks like. But sometimes, "You deserve better than me" becomes a convenient exit door. A way to leave without fully explaining why. A way to avoid responsibility for the distance that has already been growing. And this is where many men make a costly mistake. Instead of listening, they start convincing. They reassure. They chase. They try to prove why the relationship should continue. But healthy relationships cannot be built on persuasion. They are built on mutual commitment. If someone repeatedly tells you they cannot give you what you need, to believe the behavior behind the words. Because self-respect means recognizing when effort is no longer being matched, and no amount of love can replace genuine willingness from the other person. The fourth phrase doesn't sound dramatic. In fact, many men overlook it completely. I never asked you to do that for me. At first glance, it may even sound reasonable. And technically, it might be true. Maybe she never asked you to drive across town to help her. Maybe she never asked you to stay up late listening to her problems. Maybe she never asked for the sacrifices, the effort, or the support you willingly gave. But that's not the real issue. The issue is what this phrase often reveals about appreciation. Healthy relationships are not built on keeping score. They're built on recognizing effort. A mature partner understands that love is often expressed through actions, not requests. They notice when someone shows up consistently. They value loyalty, support, and commitment, even during disagreements. But when someone repeatedly responds with, "I never asked you to do that," they may be dismissing the very things that helped build the relationship in the first place. And over time, that can create a dangerous imbalance. One person continues investing, the other simply receives. This is where resentment quietly begins to grow, not because effort wasn't rewarded, but because it wasn't even acknowledged. Now, this doesn't mean you should expect praise for every good deed. True generosity doesn't demand applause. However, healthy relationships require mutual appreciation. Without it, one partner often feels taken for granted. The deeper lesson here is simple. Never give so much of yourself that your value becomes invisible. Because when appreciation disappears, connection usually follows. And a relationship without gratitude rarely stays healthy for long. The fifth phrase is one that often sounds harmless at first. Maybe we should take a break. Many men hear those words and immediately tell themselves a comforting story. She's just stressed. She needs space. She'll come back once she clears her head. And sometimes, that's true. Life can be overwhelming. And every relationship goes through difficult seasons. But the real question isn't whether she wants space. The real question is why she wants distance from the relationship instead of working on it. Strong relationships aren't built because two people never struggle. They're built because two people choose to face struggles together. When challenges appear, emotionally mature partners communicate. They set boundaries. They make adjustments. They work towards solutions. What concerns me about this phrase isn't the request for space itself. It's what often comes before it. Weeks of emotional distance. Less communication. Less effort. Less interest. Less investment. In many cases, the request for a break is not the beginning of the problem. It's the result of a problem that has already been growing beneath the surface. And this is where self-respect becomes critical. A man should never beg someone to stay. He should never try to negotiate his way into being valued. If someone is uncertain about whether they want you in their life, chasing certainty from them rarely creates it. The lesson isn't to become cold. The lesson is to pay attention, because a healthy relationship isn't built by putting each other on hold. It's built by choosing each other, especially when things become difficult. And when that choice disappears, pretending everything is fine won't bring it back. Before we finish, there's one question that matters more than all 5 phrases combined. Why did you stay? Most men think the problem begins when a woman loses respect. But often, the bigger problem begins when a man loses respect for himself. Because the truth is, red flags rarely appear overnight. The signs are usually there long before the relationship falls apart. The dismissive comments, the lack of appreciation, the emotional distance, the growing imbalance. Yet many men stay anyway. Not because they don't see it, but because they're afraid. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of being alone. Afraid that they won't find someone else. And that fear can keep a man trapped in situations that slowly destroy his confidence, his peace, and his sense of self-worth. This is what psychologists often call a scarcity mindset. The belief that this is the best you'll ever get, that if you lose this relationship, you'll lose your chance at happiness. But that's rarely true. A man with genuine self-respect understands something powerful. Being alone is not the worst outcome. Being with someone who constantly makes you feel unimportant is. The goal of this video isn't to make you suspicious of women. It's to make you honest with yourself. Because healthy relationships require 2 people who choose each other freely, not one person constantly chasing while the other slowly pulls away. The moment you stop fearing loneliness, everything changes. You make better decisions. You set stronger boundaries. You stop accepting behavior that damages your mental health and emotional well-being. And most importantly, you stop asking, "How do I make someone value me?" and start asking, "Why am I giving my time to someone who doesn't?" That's the moment real masculine confidence begins. Not when someone chooses you, but when you learn to choose yourself. At the end of the day, the strongest men aren't the ones who can make someone stay. They're the ones who know when it's time to walk away. Because self-respect isn't something you talk about. It's something you practice. So here's my question for you. Which of these 5 phrases do you think is the biggest warning sign? And have you ever heard it in a relationship? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're ready to build stronger boundaries, deeper emotional intelligence, and real masculine confidence, subscribe to Stoic Masculinity 101. Because the moment a man truly values himself, he stops chasing respect and starts living in a way that naturally earns it